It's high summer in the park, and there have been a few days of warm, sunny weather. It's been a good year for the geese, and they've had a lot of goslings. There are also many thousands of human visitors. Bees are gathering pollen from the wildflowers, and butterflies are plentiful. This is a meadow brown. Here's a harlequin ladybird on a thistle. The Lido swimming area does good business on hot days. The island is a secluded spot for nesting birds, including great-crested grebes. This young one is already independent and catching its own fish. There's a raft in the long water for terns to nest on, though so far it hasn't attracted any. In April, a pair of Canada geese decided to nest there, and we could just see from the shore that they had eggs. But the plastic sides of the raft would have kept the goslings from getting off. So we kept a watch on it, and as soon as they hatched, we rang Malcolm, the wildlife officer. He went out in a boat with a net and scooped them out and dropped them in the water. The parents brought the goslings over to the shelter of a willow tree. But the hungry herring gulls took their toll, and soon there was only one survivor. Its parents looked after it carefully, and we watched it over the next few days as it grew. It lost its original yellow colour and turned grey. One day some smaller goslings were with the family. This wasn't surprising. Canadas often look after each other's families temporarily. But 3 of them stayed, and it looked as if the parents had adopted them. And there was also something strange. The new goslings didn't seem to be Canadas. You can see their pale legs, not black like the legs of the Canada gosling. Soon it was clear that the adopted goslings were greylags. But they got on fine with their parents and with the other Canadas. Somehow the family adopted 2 more Canada goslings, the same age as the little greylags. The new additions are at the far left and right. The original Canada gosling is beginning to get its adult colours. Here are 2 of the greylag goslings with one of the new Canadas, roughly the same size. Soon the original gosling from the raft was looking quite grown up compared with the other 2 Canadas. They mixed with another Canada family, and it was hard to tell whose the smaller ones were. One of the greylag goslings was darker than the others. It might have been from different parents, but the origin of this mixed family is a mystery. They were all becoming independent, and soon you might see any of them anywhere among the flock of Canada geese. This goose is a greylag Canada hybrid. You can tell that the Canada parent was its mother because it associates with Canadas, not greylags, just as the adopted greylags stay with the Canada flock and think they are Canadas. On the long water beyond the bridge, there was another adoption in mid-May, but this story doesn't have a happy ending. The little island was built a couple of years ago for mute swans to nest on, but Canada geese want it too. This nesting swan had a young bird, but it was clear from its yellow colour that it was a Canada gosling. It climbed onto the swan's back, just like a cygnet. The swans must have evicted the geese, but left their eggs and incubated them with their own. When the swan's own eggs hatched, the mother swan tolerated the cygnet for 2 days, but then she realised it didn't belong and drove it out, and the poor little misplaced creature died. Back to the Serpentine, and this time it's the colony of greylags. These geese don't shower childcare as Canada's do. The largest brood was one of 7 goslings, and it stayed like that for several days. Then suddenly there were 9. Another 2 had wandered in somehow. We thought they'd go back to their mother, but they didn't. And a couple of days later there were 10. There are only 8 in this picture. It seems that goslings were wandering around between broods and being accepted wherever they went. The number went up to 10 again and has stayed there since then. This picture was taken a few years ago on the Grand Union Canal, not far from the park. There are 24 Canada goslings from maybe 4 broods, all being looked after together by 2 pairs of adults. It's this flexibility that has made Canada geese so successful.
That looks nice. I've seen this before.
We go back to the long water for another story of adoption. This is the first pair of Egyptian geese to arrive on the lake 12 years ago. The female has a distinctive blonde head. They have bred every year, sometimes 3 times, and every time they have lost their whole brood in a couple of days because they are hopeless parents, vague and inattentive. The chicks vanish one by one, but last year 2 girls walking beside the long water discovered an abandoned Egyptian baby. They picked it up and gave it to the first Egyptian family they saw on the Serpentine. The new parents accepted it. The adopted chick takes after its blonde mother and is paler than the rest. Here it is walking around with the others. We watched it grow over the weeks. Its light colour always made it easy to find. This is the last picture before it became independent and joined the adults. The final story is about the black swan, whom we've seen in earlier films. He arrived on the lake last autumn. After fighting with the other swans for a place in the social ranking, he picked up a girlfriend from the mute swans. She was less than a year old and still grey. Young black swans are grey too, and probably he thought she was one of his own species, though as she turned white he stayed with her. He became more settled and peaceful. Then, in mid-July, he found a lone cygnet whose mother had died, and he started following it around. At first the cygnet was frightened, but soon it accepted its new stepfather. The black swan had always been aggressive. Here are some older pictures of him attacking mute swans, often for no visible reason. When he adopted the cygnet, he went back to his old behaviour. When it was just him and the cygnet, everything was peaceful. But he kept all the other swans at a distance from it. Often he pushed them a long way up the lake before returning to the cygnet. He completely ignored his old girlfriend, and there is no sign of them getting back together. This story isn't finished yet, but we'll be keeping an eye on all these birds, and there will be another chapter in a couple of months.